Hello! It is February 28th, 2018 as I'm recording this, and I mention that because Scary Godmother dolls are shipping. I haven't received mine yet, but as far as I've been able to gather from who has and has not received theirs reporting online, they're being shipped out. Floof is sharpening her claws on her cardboard claw sharpener. Floofy, are you wound? Anyway, as far as I can tell, the Scary Godmother dolls are being sent out in chunks alphabetically. So those of us with last names toward the end of the alphabet, hopefully we will get them today or tomorrow. And if you don't know about the Scary Godmother doll, that Kickstarter went live in like August 29th, 2013. So that's why we are excited that these dolls are finally shipping. When I do get it, I will probably do a box opening and initial impressions video. Just, why not? So, as far as dolls I do have, how's that for a segue? Last Thursday I did go to a thrift store. There were some dolls on the random toy table. They were pretty much a combination of dolls with broken bodies but interesting hair colors and head sculpts, and half-articulated dolls, and this Brettzilla's Megana, which I grabbed her because why not, but I've never been too fond of the Bratz body aesthetic because the arms, it's like the torso needs to come to like here. Elbows should be at your waist and your palms should be at your crotch, and these aren't. So I'm not sure what I'll do with her. I did also, another problem with Brettzilla's was that their quality control was terrible. So there's actually paint from her lips on her cheeks and paint from her eyeshadow on her forehead. So I was able to get that off carefully with acetone, although I did have to remove her blush to get the lipstick paint off of her cheeks. Her hair is actually in pretty good shape. The ends of it are a little scraggly, but the non-ends area is shiny, and this nylon hair that's been on the toy table, and usually that's not in this good shape. So I'm not sure what I will do with her, but I rescued her. But the dolls that I was most interested in on the toy table were half-articulated. Either they had jointed arms and clicky legs, or straight legs, or they had straight arms and jointed legs. So I grabbed a few of those. My idea was they're the belly button style bodies, and those have a fairly standard leg attachment apparatus leg joint, where if you like twist it upward and pull just in the right way, you can pop it off. Sometimes you break the hip pin. That's not good. But if you pop it off, then you can actually swap it onto other bodies. So my plan was to take the jointed legs off the straight arm bodies and the clicky legs off the jointed arm bodies and put the jointed legs on the jointed arm bodies and the clicky legs on the straight arm bodies. And I mostly did that. I was able to get 2 dolls assembled from other dolls with straight arms and clicky legs, and those are back in the bag to go back to the thrift store. One of the dolls, I got her legs off. There was a slightly different substance used for what these legs are. There's sort of a barrel that slips over a sphere. The sphere was made of a slightly different substance, and it did not want to let go of that leg, so I ended up actually accidentally initially, but I went with it, cracking the torso in half and then using a small screwdriver to lever the legs off of that. I actually have not reused those legs for anything else, but jointed legs are good to have around. The body I thought I would put them on actually is slightly newer, so the sphere was a little smaller, but that's okay. Like I said, legs are good. One body that I did assemble from the jointed arms and from the Thursday thrift store finds was this body. Now, this actually has the not strung legs. These legs, even though they are gymnast type, are modified to have the barrel and sphere fashionistas belly button torso type. Belly button torso. What are you doing, Floof? Can you get purr? This cat does purr a lot, but she will purr while she's biting you and sinking her claws into you, so you can't always trust the floofy purr. So anyway, I do like the fact that this, yes, there's gymnast style arms, which when I made lunch on Saturday, since the stove element was hot, I went ahead and held the hands over until they got slightly soft and heat reshaped the hands. So there's no wrist joints, and then these are the standard knees, old gymnast style knees. So there's not a lot of joints on this body, but that just means that it's better, I think, for painting, doing an all over paint. What are you doing, Floof? So that's why there's no head on this body yet. And I do have a supply of more traditional gymnast bodies with the flat feet and the elastic or rubber strung legs, but next time I'm ready to paint a body in all over color, it's probably going to be this body, whenever I do that. Did I make enough room for you, Floof? Are you going to bite me when I reach around you for other dolls? Thank you. So the other doll I put together using jointed legs for a body that had jointed arms was one that I already had. It was Barbie 12 Dancing Princesses Fallon. That's the one with the Lara sculpt. And the 12 Dancing Princesses dolls, much to everyone's chagrin when they were released, had the smaller bodies with, I think the smaller bodies had jointed legs and straight arms. And then the regular Barbie sized bodies had jointed arms and clicky legs. So I was able to put some articulated fashionista style legs. She has the old ballerina style hands, which means there's no wrist joint, but the hands are a little more graceful than the stock gymnast flat hands. And as I said pretty much in every picture of this doll I posted, I apparently don't know what to do with a blonde tan doll, so she gets this like California glam style, at least now. I'm not sure if I will repaint her or remove the glitter from her eyes. She has glitter eyeshadow. Or eventually remove her or what. This is the only Lara sculpt I have. I'm actually not too fond of the Lara sculpt, but I might as well have one. I don't actually think I've ever even repainted a Lara. So we'll see. And actually, what are you doing? No, you're just ripping. The hips I swapped onto this body were actually cracked. So there was a little worried when I was hammering them, when I was popping them off or hammering them back onto this body, that they would crack more, but they didn't. There's barely a crack on that side, and that's probably just from age. So I mean, these are toys. They are pretty durable. At least they usually stand up to being ripped off of one body and hammered onto another body. Okay, Poofies, can I get you down? You're getting wound up, and that's kind of scary. So, dolls. And then some of the dolls that I got off the random toy table were dolls, like I said, with interesting hair colors, head sculpts. One, the head was completely broken off the body. I didn't even see the body. Another one, the head was still on the body, but the top of the neck was super cracked. Also, it had molded clothes. So I didn't feel too bad about taking those away from kids potentially, because what kid wants a broken toy? And like I said, the other dolls I took, I reassembled into dolls that I can redonate. So kids will have the opportunities to get those dolls. Sometimes I feel guilty about buying dolls that kids could be buying, but so the doll with the cracked neck and molded clothes had been a Barbie fairy who I put on an articulated fashionista's body, and actually this isn't the fashionista's, this is the Barbie style since it has ankles. But it's mostly fashionista's body. And I repainted her. And I actually did a little more elaborate hairstyle than I usually do. I spontaneously remembered with this doll that I remembered how to do a French braid, that I knew how to French braid. So I did some French braids on dolls. I don't know if you can hear that bird. Do you hear that bird, Floof? So I had no plans for how I was going to repaint this doll. You see, it's not, I wouldn't say more realistic, but It's not my usual style where I try to make it look like it was mass-produced. And then the Barbie head that I picked up with no body, she turned out to be a Barbie mermaid originally, which she has, as you see, purple hair with, this is a color change strip. It's dark purple when it's cool, and then it goes light pink when it's hot. And I've obviously left it light pink. Yes, I need to brush her hair out and recurl it, but for now, but I just wanted to get this done. Again, no idea what I was going to do with her face. So I painted her again in kind of Rika style, like I did that Ever After High Cupid. But Ever After High Cupid, when I painted her, repainted her, I had a Rika in front of me to copy. This one I did from memory, knowing I was changing things, knowing it wasn't perfect. And she's on the body, it's a female action figure body. It's a Kumik, one of the Kumik bodies I got secondhand from Josh. The other one I got is the body. I mean, I still haven't finished her, obviously. It's this. So when you take off the torso, the rubbery torso pieces, you're left with that underneath. But with the rubbery torso pieces in place, you get this. And I'm not going to strip her down so you can get a good look. It's K-U-M-I-K is the name. They're all over eBay. Their basic skin tone, though, is kind of, it's not kind of, it's very gray. What'd you do, Floof? So I used pastels to, it's not sealed because I wasn't sure if the color would be right, and I'm just curious how long it will last. I used pastels to blush the top of the torso to match the head better. So I did her, and I posted on Instagram, I did a little bit of a comic with my Lamely doll because I don't think this is the kind of doll that Lamely would like. But she's been popular. So those are my my two repaints of normal dolls. And then I did another repaint of not normal doll. When Asta Kiriyami sent me those Japanese Kit Kats and the surprise fake Dung doll heads. Like the one one of the small heads, I put on this Polly Pockets articulated body. And then another one of the bigger, there were two sizes of heads, little size and the big head. The bigger one I put on an unarticulated Project MC Squared body. And since I didn't like, they all had braided hair. And since I didn't like that blonde hair, I cut it off. And actually when I placed an order from Funny Lori for a doll wig, probably last year, she sent an extra wig, and the extra wig has bounced around from doll to doll, and I tried it on this doll, and I really liked it. And the Dung face, the Dung knockoff face was really cute with the wig and with this body, but my goal was not to have that. I mean, if I want that, I have 3 more of those fake Dung heads. No, my goal with this one was to finally try a cyclops. Now, my group of doll people online were doing cyclops dolls years ago, when, what was the Monster High character? Iris came out. They wanted her, but they were also Create-A Monsters. The Create-A Monsters where you use decals to put the whole face on. They used those, since there were no eye wells, they used those to make Cyclops. I know some people were freezing Monster High heads so the vinyl would be really hard, and sanding off the eyes and the upper nose and turning those into Cyclopses. And I wanted to try it, but I was either lazy or never got around to it or didn't have the right parts. But I finally decided, since this fake Dung head has no definition to the eye wells, that she would be my Cyclops. And I am really happy with how she turned out. I even like this, like I said earlier, I never like the Bratz, the weird proportions bodies. So the Project MC Squared dolls are also MGA, like Bratz. And they have like slightly long arms. This is just a little bit too long. And the legs are just a little bit too thin, but I think that works with the non-human head. So I actually like her on this straight body. I even think the legs on the non-articulated body are just a little bit cuter than articulated Project MC Squared legs. So I'm happy with how she turned out. And again, I used what I learned from copying Rika eyes. So there's no black in her eye paint. Did I put black on? No, there's no black. It's all really dark blue, although when I sealed it, I was too enthusiastic and I actually put a bit too much sealer on gloppy and it changed the color, so I went back over some of the parts with the dark blue. But some of the parts are sort of grayed out, but it's supposed to be all dark blue. So I'm happy with her, even on this body, and the way you know I'm happy is because I gave her good shoes. Although there's not a lot of options for a flat foot Project MC squared body still. And then we have the dolls that I didn't paint. When Debbie Jones sent me a lot of dolls, it included 2 vintage Ideal Misties. One, except for missing fingers, was perfect. The other, missing a few more fingers, which is apparently really common with Misty dolls, because they have soft individual fingers. The doll's paint didn't have wear and tear on it. The lips were perfect. The eyebrows, great. The eyes were good, except when the whites of the eyes had been painted. I think this is probably a factory mistake. The paint wasn't laying on thick enough. So basically, the way this doll's eyes appear to have been painted is a base of green was put down, and then the black was put on for the pupils, and the white was put on for the whites over all the green. So when the white was put on, it wasn't dense enough. You could see green through it really well. So I chose this doll to route out the inside of her head and put her on a live body. And then I also touched up the whites of her eyes. And I tried straightening her hair a little bit, but I wasn't really aggressive about that. So she still has the flip on this side, but it's kind of straight on this side. I know when my hair's long, it tends to be asymmetrical like that, so I have no problem with that for now. So I like her. I like the original body, but I like her on the live body too. Being able to tilt ahead makes such a difference. Like I said, I used the Dremel to carve out the inside of her neck, but there's also a bread tag in there to help as a spacer to hold the head on. And that day I was playing with the Dremel, I also, obviously this is not a doll I finished, one of the 1980s skipper heads that Pandora sent me. I went ahead and ground down the weird neck knob on this Disney Star Darlings body. Even though this leg hip articulation still is kind of infuriating the Star Darlings body, the pivot goes in at an angle, so when there's no way to get the legs to go straight when she sits, and you can't just take them off and restring them because, like I said, the holes go up. I have some ideas on how to fix this, I just haven't done it yet. But despite that, that's still my favorite body to put 80s skipper heads on, because I think the proportion is nice and the color is not too far off, this tan. So someday she will get rerouted, but for now. And the way to get the head onto the Star Darlings body, the Star Darlings bodies have this weird big neck knob, so not only do you have to grind that down, but also you have to put a groove where you want this neck to end up so that the flange inside the head will sit down on the groove. If not, it will just distort the bottom of the head. But, so that's another little thing I did. Obviously this project is not finished. And another doll that I had thought I would reroute, a head that Ragamuffin Squad sent me. It's a Unita doll from the early 80s. The only one of these I found on eBay was in a 3-doll box set called like the Princess Imperial Collection. And I'm not really fond of brown hair, so I thought I would reroute this doll, but I took another look at her, and despite being an off-brand doll, her hair is actually pretty nice and thick, and so I just went ahead and got her onto a live body. Now, I couldn't use the bread tag on this doll because as she's going on it originally went on a clone style body, so she's supposed to go on the sphere on top of the neck, so there's, you know, the big hollow inside the head. So actually, that Barbie head I cut apart a few weeks ago and found all the glue in. I went ahead and trimmed it down to almost nothing but what's around the neck opening and put that on the live body, and then got the spherical clone style head down on that. So she has a good attachment and still a good, decent range of motion. The only other thing I did with this head was she has rooted lashes that were initially pretty stubby, So I took pliers and very carefully started tugging them out. I didn't remove them, I just took up the slack and then trimmed them straight again. And that really helps the way she looks to have those lashes. So this is just a silly doll. Honestly, she reminds me of a cartoon Princess Leia. So that amuses me, especially since she's from the Princess Imperial collection. So not sure if I'll go in any directions with that idea, but at least she's on a body now. Oh, another doll that I thrifted. I actually thrifted it for the body, since I've started putting those Ever After High heads on the Disney Princess bodies with the 2006 Hobbit Barbie body. I've actually kind of started to like the Hobbit Barbie body. And apparently the Rapunzels in that series had articulated knees. So I picked up a Rapunzel. Whoever had owned her originally had hacked off most of her hair, and her head was super full of glue, which I posted a picture of how much glue was inside there on Instagram too. So here's the head without any hair. I'll probably wipe the face off and repaint her eventually. I don't know what I'm going to do for hair. I don't know if I'm going to reroute her or give her yarn or sculpt or what. I have had a request that if I do yarn hair that I can make a video of it so people can see how I do it. I will try to remember to take a video. I'm not sure I will do yarn on her head, but not sure what I'll do with this head, especially since I just bought her for the body, which I said I'm not showing because it is put aside with another head I want to reroute that I've been trying to find a good body for, and I actually think this body is good. And I also want to figure out how to give that body articulated arms, which I don't think I will go so far as to try to crack the torso open and put new arms in. I probably will do what Cosmo Moore's been doing with Curvies, is just, and Ken's, is just cut the arm off at an angle at the elbow and then grind that out, drill that in, and then use arms from another doll with articulated arms. I do have some articulated arms that I could take apart and put into those arms. The skin tone's not quite right, but it's what I have. So that's something else I thrifted. And as an aside, this is when I thrifted this doll a few weeks ago. She actually had a big black, looked like Sharpie stain on her cheek. So I had her laying in my window here for at least 2 weeks with 10% benzoyl peroxide on that spot, and I didn't touch her. I didn't refresh the benzoyl peroxide cream. I didn't do anything. I just left her in the window. It was overcast more than it was sunny, and when I finally picked her up last weekend to check to see if I needed to refresh the benzoyl peroxide cream, the spot was completely gone. So that's good. I mean, she still has a pretty solid glue head, but it's the white glue, so it's not seeping and making her hair greasy, so I'm being able to live with that. So that was a simple little touch-up that just took some time. And then still playing around with getting heads on bodies. I had this Bratz Kids head that John had repainted in Pose Doll style and sent to me years ago. And I'd had her bouncing around bodies. I'd mostly had her on a, what's it called? Fairy Tale High body, which Fairy Tale High, I forget what company made them. Not a well-known toy company. And they were basically turned out to be bodies that were rip-offs of the Jakks Pacific Wings bodies, only clunkier. So really tall and gangly, and also had stains straight out of the box from her fishnet tights. But I'd had this head on that body for a while, and then I didn't. So this head had been kicking around for a while, and I decided to try it on a Project MC2 body, and I think it looks pretty good. As you can see, I'm covering up the articulated legs just because I don't like those. About half the Project MC2 square bodies that I have now have Barbie legs on them instead of Project MC squared legs. That's why I said I can never have too many doll legs, even though it's a spare right now. I'm babbling. I'm getting toward the end of the video, don't worry. So, got her dressed. I like the Project MC squared or MC2 bodies because they can wear Blythe size stuff on top. It's like I made this dress years ago for a Rika doll. And now she can wear it. Of course, this is the flat foot body, so you have to get creative in shoes. These are 1970s Young Sweethearts Michael / Ken shoes. And then that was all what I did on like Friday and Saturday. And then on Sunday, after I'd taken pictures of all these dolls, and my brain was about to say, all right, I want to do something. I should sew. I still have not sewn that tunic I cut out last week. So I said to myself, finish that reroute that you started a long time ago and have just abandoned, even though, yes, the idea of working on this reroute kind of fills you with dread because it's orange, and orange isn't really one of my colors, but this doll has this I know I showed her to you, and I'm going to show her to you again, but you know I like to talk before I show. Orange lipstick and teal eyebrows and teal eyeshadow and orange blush, so I picked out this orange, and I thought I would do orange with teal streaks in the hair, but I decided to just do it simple, do it all orange. I think you might remember this doll when you see her. I talked about, since she's a clone, so her rooting only goes to about here on her hair, and I was talking about maybe painting an undercut, but she actually turned out too groovy to look like she should have an undercut. So I said I wasn't really happy with how this reroute was going until I got, okay, because I have so much of this hair, I didn't worry about doing the thatched part first. Normally when I'm doing a reroute with limited amount of hair, like cut from another doll, I'll do the hairline first and then immediately do the thatch, do the part, so that if I run out of the hair color, it'll be in some place in the field of the head and the greater scalp that it might be easier to hide with a slightly different color. But I went ahead and saved the part for the last on this one, and as I was working on it, also usually when I do the part I do it from the front to the back, but this one I did from the back to the front because that just happened to be where my needle ended up. And it was covering so well, again, because I didn't have to be stingy and finicky and use small plugs, and it was just covering so well. And it's like as soon as I started working on that part, I suddenly gained enthusiasm for this project again, and then hit it with some hot water, and I think it's nylon, so it took the water styling really well. So I'm pretty happy with how this doll turned out, her reroute. I had to touch up her face a bit. As a clone, she's not the highest quality face paint, and it was obvious that the mask for the black paint for the eyelashes, it was obviously flush against the face and just where it should be on this side, but on this side it was a little off, so this side the eyelashes were larger and blurrier. But I actually liked that look a little more, so I went back on this side and added some black to the eyelashes. But also it meant that the whites of her eyes on this side had a lot of black overspray, so I went back with the white and touched up the whites in her eyes. And then her body is, as I mentioned, a lot of my Project MC Squared dolls now seem to have Barbie legs. That's what she has. Now the first one that I gave Barbie legs to, I actually cut a Barbie in half, and I cut the Project MC Squared doll in half, and then I grafted those parts back together, the Project MC Squared hips and legs onto the Barbie torso. And John said, basically, you know, you can just string the Barbie legs on. And like, oh, you're right. So these are, again, the older strung gymnast style high heel feet. And they are just elastic strung onto this body that I took the original legs off of. So now I have that pair of legs to put onto something if I want to. And when I first put them on, they weren't fitting well and her legs were kicking out all over the place. And John told me to just trim the underwear off at the molded on elastic line, and I did that, and the legs fit in perfectly, and I'm happy with this doll. And that's all I have to talk about this week. Like I said, if Scary Godmother shows up, I will do a box opening first impressions video, and then maybe by next week I will have made more clothes for her. We'll see. You'll see. Floof will see. Maybe I'll drag Chip into next week's video. Thanks for watching.